Islam. Islam. So Islam, Morris. Welcome to the call. Islam Grand Sheik. How you doing, brother man? Islam. It's Grand Sheik from Fort Wayne up there. My brother Page Bay, is that you?
Islam, Muslim. Yes, it is indeed. How's everybody doing tonight?
All is well, my brother. All is truly well. Welcome. Glad you're here, Sheik.
Praise Allah.
Islam. As I shared with everybody, know y'all, this is a public call. It's national in its scope, so you can invite any and everybody to the call. Anybody wants to hear and learn about nationality and divine creed, the teachings of the Holy Koran from the Moorish Science of America, this is a public call for everybody to just tune in. We'll be starting in about 1 more minute. Just want to give a few more members an opportunity to chime in, find out where our Supreme Grand Sheik is. He said he got the link. Just talk to the Mo. Sure, he'll be up here shortly. All right, y'all. Islam. We got a 757 number. I don't know who that is. Welcome to the call. Again, if you're able to, please place your name in a group chat. If you are able, just to share that you're here, where you're coming from. If you're not, it's all right. If you don't want to, it's all right. We love you the same. And Sister Courtney, are you there?
Islam, I'm here. I'm at work. I get off of work at 9:30. So, but I'm listening in. Islam family. Happy Wednesday.
Islam.
Islam.
Hold on, let me text our Supreme Grand Sheik. He's saying that he having some challenges. I told the brother, just hit the link, Mo. I love our Supreme Grand Sheik. That Mo be doing a lot. Let me send him this link. And again, y'all, we're about to start public meeting. Anybody can call in. This call is being recorded. All right, I hear you, son. Hold on, y'all hear my son? He over here trying to chime in. He think he in the meeting too, which he is. So it's law. All right, Morris, Islam. We about to get started. Is question? Is there anybody preferably able to open us up with the prayer, and then just yield the floor to me, and I got it from there. Any sisters able to lead us in the Moorish American prayer?
Islam. Two on the right, five on the left. Feet at a 45-degree angle. Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, true peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Amen. Islam.
Man, Islam, Islam, Islam. If you're able to, please remain standing. If not, just stay in your higher self as we recite the divine constitution and bylaws. Salvation, Allah, unity. The Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution, and bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly, according to the Circle 7, in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh, and ascended unto his Father God, Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and partial of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. With us, must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and a partial of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father God, Allah. Noble Drew Ali is our founder. We have the Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. And our home office is located here in the Mecca, known as Chicago, Illinois to many, but Islam. Now let me do a quick reading. Activate the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Logo Circle 7, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali, by the guiding of his father God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his father God Allah. And just customary, we like to read chapter 25. This is a reminder of the covenant we share amongst one another as brothers and sisters. It is a holy covenant of the Asiatic nation. You are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother hath given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all, in your love to each other. Islam. Islam, Moors. First we rise, we give complete and perfect praise to Allah, who is the author, creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible. I extend honor to his prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for restoring our nationality and our divine creed here in northwestern Mexico. Honor to the harbinger Marcus Mosiah Garvey for paving the way. Honors to all past and present leaders of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Honors to our Supreme Grand Sheikh, Kenyu Umar Bey, who does live his life according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And it is known before the members. Honors to all the officials, the staff, to the charter bearing the 10 wonders of the world, to the flags, to each and every one of you that can hear the sound of my voice, your mama, your daddy, your cousins, and all of them, all of your foes, and all things Moorish. Islam, Islam, Islam. Welcome everybody to the first installment of our National Koran Study class. As you know, this is Wednesday, and we will be launching a regular class every Wednesday, a national call, inviting leaders, members, visitors all around the country. They're welcome to tune in and hear exactly what's going on in the Moorish Science Temple of America. Specifically, how do we internalize and apply these lessons? So, to stay on point with the agenda, for starters, we want to just make sure that everyone has a clear understanding that what you can expect as you're tuning into these calls, you can expect to hear guidance on how to navigate through current world events, past and present, all right, and future, from a wide variety of issues and things that are happening in today's world. We have the war brewing, going on in Palestine. Um, that's we see as a conflict every day, and as we should all know, in Islam we practice peace, so we are not for war. So none of us are in support of killing innocent people. We have issues, another topic, just something to touch on that you can expect for us to maybe, provide more clarity around is the distinction between proclaiming your nationality through the Moorish Science Temple of America with the organization founded by Prophet Noble Drew Ali versus a popular idea that's being spread in America today, which is this idea of just proclaiming to be a more individually outside of the temple. And it's obviously we want our people to follow in line with the prophet and adhere to the laws that he established. We understand that Moors were introduced. All of us may have been introduced to Moorish science at different stages in our life, in different places and locations. However, as long as we practically apply this science every single day, we will have remedy for many of the stuff that we're plagued with. So just kind of that's kind of what you can expect, as we're going through these lessons. We'll be different speakers every single week. The calls will start promptly around 7 p.m. Central Time, and they will generally end around 9 p.m. Central Time. The only thing that can vary upon that would be questions and comments and dialogue if it goes a little further than anticipated. But for the most part, just tune in and let me address briefly the conflict in Israel and Palestine, whatever you want to, however angle you want to come at it from. But short version is, and this is my portion of understanding and how it relates to us and what we can reflect on how we can deal with it, because Moors are always asked that question, what is our position? Well, I'll start with the one-on-ones. Why did Allah send Jesus to this earth? To save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the pale-skinned nations of Europe who were governing a portion of Palestine at that time. I would actually, offer the perspective that still applies today. There is still a portion of the pale-skinned nations of Europe who are governing a portion of Palestine. And that portion they call Israel. And in that portion, there's a lot of violence and things that are going on against other people that we just don't agree with. We are for peace and not destruction. So, regardless of which side of the aisle, if you will, that you may be on, all we do is we ask peace on earth and goodwill to all, and nobody should be blowing up anybody. We shouldn't see hospitals blowing up. I do not agree with the behavior of killing of people. It's just that's not Islam and what we stand for. Fortunately, we have lessons in our Quran, and we'll get to it as we go through the Quran every week. So you'll hear us reference some just in dialogue, but as we go through each chapter, you should get clarity around where we're drawing from. And just, my short reference point to this resolution as it relates to Palestine and Israel, is that, is that remember that all nations are seeking peace these days in these modern times. There's only one way that peace will be obtained, and that is when, or if, or should I when, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice is being taught universally to all nations through all land. So, regardless of what your religion may be, regardless of what your perceived race may be, regardless of what your nationality or your creed might be, we all as human beings need to live by these principles. Love first, okay? Then truth, then peace, freedom, and then justice. That's what we need to focus on. And if we stand together in that on those principles, then we should be able to continue to grow and prosper as the human race. Now, let me go ahead and read the second part of our agenda. We're touching on reading on the masterpiece of religious literature, Secrets of Other Creeds Revealed. And this is something that's from our Moorish literature. This was published Friday, December 15th, 1928. And this is a great intro to prepare everybody for this Koran study class. But it reads, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali has spent many hours preparing the latest edition of the Koran, which will be a masterpiece of religious literature. To Americanize the Oriental idea of Islam involves many changes that are more or less negative to the main purpose of the Islamic religion. Such changes are carefully considered with the idea to avoid changing the complexion of the original text. The philosophy of the ancient prophets is the main initiative in the compilation of the Koran. No thoughts of propaganda enter this work, as has been the case of many former religious works, such as the Bible and other books of creed. The sole purpose of the prophet in giving such a message to the world is to save fallen humanity. When a compiler attempts to inject propaganda into a work of this kind, there arises a need to cover the true text in order to prevent a clash with the truth and ideas involved in such propaganda. Former works of this kind have either hindered or helped the nations proportionately to the adherence to the truth as to the original purpose of keeping the ignorant in such a state. It is hard to resist the temptation to use this medium for gain. Hence, many of the former treaties on works of this kind have been the means to foster ideas of the unscrupulous, wherein they desire to use religious influence for gain. The many secrets known to the prophet that could be used for the salvation of the nation were either left out or colored to an extent that their meaning was made void. Such is not the case with this edition of the Koran. All the secrets of the ages known to man are put into this work. The secrets known only to the Magi are here revealed. The reading of the stars, the interpretation of marriage relations, the understanding of the span of life, and other such as has been kept from the Occidental world are in this book, boldly brought out. The Koran, Americanized as it will be, can be bought in a few weeks. It will be sent to all governors of the Moorish Science Temple of America by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam. So let's just briefly reflect on that as we're getting into these lessons. Remember that there is no propaganda of any kind that enters this work. This is literally for the uplifting of fallen humanity. It's pure. It's 100% healthy, and I dare you to find anything that is a legitimate objection to the quality of this work. Our beloved Prophet Noble Drew Ali divinely prepared this and gave it to us in a simple pamphlet to give us instructions to help us in our path of unfolding in this life. So wherever you are along your road, along your journey, your path of growth and development as a child, adult, man, woman, whatever, wherever you are along the road, keep your Koran handy. Use it. Use it as the divine instructions that it is and that they are. And I hope that you're able to really grow and unfold and that our efforts here are just used to benefit you. Baby, pardon me, y'all. Y'all know I'm getting my daddy on too. It's all right, baby. Thank you. So the other thing I want to elaborate on briefly, before we yield the floor to our Supreme Grand Sheik to lead us in the Koran lessons, is, and I think I touched on it, but I just want to hammer it again, the practical use of these lessons. You often hear us talk about in the logos, and that's how we use these lessons on a daily conversation and development, just as we talk amongst one another. Just remember that it's intended for practical use. So when you're studying and reading, you got to put yourself in this Koran. And I'm sure the different speakers and teachers that we'll have along the line as we go elaborate and give you clear guidance on how to do so. I just want to challenge and encourage you all to keep your heart open, keep your heart and your mind pure with love, your body clean with water, and take notes, please. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm just looking at the audience. We got some dynamic speakers and dynamic teachers in here already. Now they ain't all lined up to speak tonight, but man, oh man, if you feel free to chime in because it's gonna be a very fun experience. And so, with that being said, going to before actually, I see we got our Supreme Grand Governor on the line. Islamo, you know we got to put you on the spot, Sheik. You're here. Before we yield to our Supreme Grand Sheik to really get into chapter 48, you got anything you want to share with us around just in general, just and to help warm the hearts and prep the people? Because we got people from all different walks of life who may be tuning in. Some are in the Koran or in the temple, some are not. This might be their first time ever coming to a Moorish meeting. So just what insight or advice would you give them as they prepare to hear about the Holy Koran and of the Moorish Science Temple of America?
Islam, Islam, Islam. Praise Allah and honors to his beloved prophet. Honors to yourself. Honors to our Supreme Grand Sheikh, and honors to everyone that's on the line tonight listening. I would say be still and actually hear you from the highest planes of spiritual life. Retain the spiritual food. This is food for our growth and development as Muslims. In the body of a Moorish American. So I would just simply say, be still, listen, try not to get distracted, stay away from drifting in the mind, and try to make sure that your ears are connected to the voice, the sound of someone's voice. And we trust that the great mystery will be unlocked within yourself. Islam.
Is Islam. Praise Allah. We honor and appreciate our beloved Supreme Grand Governor for giving us some insight. And it looks like our Supreme Grand Sheik fell off the line, but I'm sure he'll call back in. So for those who may not be aware, I serve as our Supreme Grand spokesperson. We have our Supreme Grand Governor on the line. We have a couple of Grand Sheiks and Sheikesses and officials from various temples on the line. Um, we have our newly appointed Grand Sheik of Temple 14 on the line as well. Honors to our Grand Sheik Reginald Timzel, who also lives his life according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and is known before the members. Um, so, yeah, I'm just gonna give our Supreme Grand Sheik a few moments to call back in so he can go ahead and take us through the Koran. Our intentions are to cover a chapter a week or every creation, depending on your level of understanding, 7 day creation. But every Wednesday, we're going to be starting with chapter 48, and we're going to be going backwards and just covering different chapters every week. If you have a particular question or something you would like for us to demonstrate on, please don't hesitate to ask. Don't hesitate to chime in on the group chat. But Islam, we have our grand man back. So before I call him up, let me talk about him a little bit. So our beloved Supreme Grand Sheik, Tyrone Harris Bey, known as Kenyu Bey, good brother. Brother been in Moorish science for a very, very long time. I've learned a lot from him. One of the greatest things I've learned from him is his example. He talks very well too, but he lives it. And that's what I admire the most. He actually lives it, you know, loves to profit, always prepared and ready to give account, to demonstrate, been leading by example, and really put his whole heart into this movement. And it's an inspiration for all of us to draw off of. So definitely one of the greatest teachers that I've ever had the luxury of listening to. And I hope that his wisdom reaches your heart today, and you're able to grow and apply from the wisdom and be a better Muslim, as our Supreme Grand Governor touched on. So without further ado, I'm going to yield the floor to our Supreme Grand Sheik, Tyrone Harris Bey, to take us into the Holy Koran, starting with chapter 48 and unfolding in this thing. You still there? I don't see you no more, man. Islam. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and read it because I don't see him. Like I just saw him, then he fell out again. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start going through the chapter, and hopefully when he calls back in, we'll be able to have him demonstrate and break down some portions of it. And Islam. So chapter 48. So at the top, you see it's the divine instructions from the Holy Prophet. The fortunate thing about this is they are instructions, and as you're unfolding, it's important that you follow instructions. Anybody ever assemble something and didn't follow instructions? You ever put together a table or a piece of furniture or a piece of electronics and you didn't follow the instructions because you just thought you could look at the box and it didn't work like you thought it would? There was significant things that you missed that you had to go back and correct. Same thing with this movement and these lessons. These are divine instructions. So as you're working to unfold to be your best self, it's important that you follow these to the greatest of your abilities. So let's start with chapter 48, the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecies. The last prophet in these days, instruction one. The last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. John the Baptist was a forerunner of Jesus in those days to warn and stir up the nations and prepare them to receive the divine creed which was to be taught by Jesus. In these modern days, there came a forerunner of Jesus who was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam, and his name is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old time religion and the everlasting gospel to the sons of men, that every nation shall and must worship under their own vine and fig tree and return to their own and be one with their Father God, Allah. The Moorish Science Temple of America is a lawfully chartered and incorporated organization. Any subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the Prophet has them to issue to every state throughout the United States, etc., that the world may hear and know the truth, that among the descendants of Africa, there is still much wisdom to be learned in these modern days for the redemption of the sons of men under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We, as a clean and pure nation, descended from the inhabitants of Africa, do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale skinned nations of Europe, neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations, as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation, while we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. The covenant of the great God Allah. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be longer upon the earth land which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee. Come, all ye Asiatics of America, and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights, because you are not Negroes. Learn of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed that you will learn to love instead of hate. We are trying to uplift fallen humanity. Come and link yourselves with the families of nations. We honor all the true and divine prophets. Islam. Now, as you can see, the chapter is pretty straight to the point. It's letting you know exactly what time it is. We are experiencing that. We are in the time as we know it, and the fulfilling of the prophecies that our prophet has laid out. Many of this stuff is unfolding right before our very eyes. Before I elaborate too much into what I would like to say and what my thoughts are, I'd like to open the floor just with questions or interpretations around any particular divine instruction from chapter 48 that you would like to ask a question around, maybe clarify, maybe give your measure around. Like, let's just have a brief discussion around it. You know, we all can read, we get what it say, but do you really get what it say? And the floor is open. I just ask that you raise your hand so we can keep order in here and unmute your line, and we would love to hear from you around chapter 48. Oh, don't act shy. We know y'all like to talk. Islam. No thoughts? It's cool. I'll keep going then. First thing I want to bring attention to is in instruction 3, right? What really
Islam.
stood out to me, Islam. You got the floor.
Islam. Islam.
Islam.
Rise, giving all praise to Allah, striving to give perfect praise at all times to the great God. And we give highest honor to our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, peace be upon him, and all the divinely led prophets, all the Moorish Americans, and all the sympathizers that may be on this line. So honors to everything Moorish. I just I really what stuck out to me was instructions 7 and 8. When he was talking about, he says, therefore we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations, as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation. Then he says, while we, Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. And I just wanted to point out, when he's talking about the Europeans, he only mentioned earthly salvation, and that always kind of stuck out to me. While when you deal with us, it was earthly and divine. And so I just wanted to mention that and see if what were your thoughts on that that distinguishment. Islam, I yield.
Islam. Praise Allah. Honor to the Grand Sheik for bringing attention to those two instructions and to answer his question. I think that the fact that the Prophet made a distinction is nothing strange. I think he wanted us to know that we have an earthly and a divine salvation. And Christianity, which is all right for those who prefer it, as we're not to speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group. It's important to know that that was something that was designed for an earthly salvation, and it was for the European nations. If you prefer Christianity, because that's your choice, then okay. But it may be potentially you losing out on your divine salvation. And also to his point that he brought up, and I appreciate, was the emphasis around in that instruction. It says that we're returning to Islam. We are returning the church and Christianity back to European nation. It's a lot of stuff needs to be returned. It seems that somewhere along the way we picked up some practices, some behaviors, some concepts and beliefs that really don't fit well for our divine salvation. One can argue it's known as European psychology. It's a particular way of thinking and functioning that's not really conducive to our well-being as a people. So I just want to emphasize and hopefully answer the Grand Sheik's question around the distinction between those two and recognize that, hey, it's something you have to return. And when you think about Christianity in the church, and I would love just to open the floor again for a little more dialogue around this, what does it look like to return the church of Christianity back to the European nations? What does it look like to return to Islam? How do you know you've returned it? How do you know you're living according to Islam? What can you how can you assess that within yourself to ensure that you're living a life accordingly? Anybody want to take a elaborate on that thought or that question? How do you know you've returned Islam back to the European nation? Or how do you know you've returned the Church of Christianity back to the European nations? And how do you know you have returned to Islam? How would you know that?
Islam. I would say it would be when we return to the mind of our ancient foremothers and forefathers, because in that one action, it does both. It returns us back to Islam, and it gives back or releases us from those things that were never set up for us, by giving us back our divine creed, nationality, our foundation, that old time religion, Islam. I yield.
Islam. Praise Allah. Anybody else got a thought around that? Come on, Moors. Don't all speak at once. But Islam, the floor is open. Just unmute your line. Raise your hand, unmute your line, and the floor is now open.
Islam, personally, I felt like I was on returning Christianity and the church back to them when I no longer looked outside of myself for things that were outside of peace. I stopped the victim mentality pretty much.
Islam. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut your wisdom, sis. I was just touched by your feedback there. She really touched something that I thought really resonated. She was like, and the Grand Sheik emphasized it. Let me just recap both thoughts that were shared. The Grand Sheik emphasized that it was when you return to the divine creed of our forefathers, and she brought attention to the victim mentality as a gauge to determine or to assess how you returned it. So I would say my takeaway from their two feedbacks is simple. When you drop the victim mentality, the woe it's me, the somebody's did this to me, somebody's coming for me, and you own the fact that Allah and man are one, when you understand this and you apply that in your daily life, now you return to Islam. When you're walking around here as a ruler, bringing peace, when you're living by Islam. And anybody else got another thought? Because I'm gonna read what is Islam. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and read what is Islam, and then open the floor back up to that question around, hey, how do you know you returned to Islam? So let's read what is Islam according to our literature. What is Islam? Because you always hear that. Moors use Islam as a noun, as a verb, as an adjective. You hear Moors all the time. Islam, Islam, oh, Islam, Islam, Islam. So let's talk about Islam, right? What is it? Islam, what is Islam? Friday, February 1st, 1929. Islam is a very simple faith. We pause for a second. Let's just reflect on that. It's a very simple faith. Our authority is to consecrate missionaries and to establish the faith of Muhammad in America, which is Islam. So Islam is a faith. It's a simple faith at that. But let me finish reading. Islam is a very simple faith. It requires man to recognize his duties towards God, Allah, his creator, and his fellow creatures. It teaches the supreme duty of living at peace with one's surroundings. It is preeminently the religion of peace. The very name Islam means peace. The goal of a man's life, according to Islam, is peace with everything, peace with Allah, and peace with man. The Koran, the holy book of Islam, tells us that the final abode of man is the house of peace, where no vain word or sinful discourse will be heard. The holy divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, says that a follower of Islam, in the true sense of the word, is one whose hands, tongue, and thoughts do not hurt others. All right, time out. Hold on. Let me commentate. Let's analyze this. So we're trying to return to Islam. So if you and I, we, us, if we're returning to our faith of Islam, then that means that as followers of Islam, in the true sense of the word, our hands, our tongue, and our thoughts do not hurt others. So you got to check yourself and ask yourself, do you have harmful thoughts towards yourself? Do you have harmful words towards yourself? Do you have harmful actions with your hands? What about towards other people? You want to throw hands? You want to put hands on somebody because they get on your nerves? You want to cuss somebody out because they get on your nerves? You know, we're not to use profanity in the mildest form either, Morris. But if you have that desire and thought in your head, that could be something contrary to Islam. Okay? If you have a word, if you use your tongue, misuse your tongue, and say things that are improper about somebody, if you falsely accuse somebody, if you do any of those types of behaviors, that by definition means that you aren't adhering to Islam, in accordance to that guidance that we're receiving in this lesson from the Moorish literature. Let me finish reading, and then we're going to open the floor back for any more feedback and thoughts around chapter 48 and how do you know you returned to Islam? How do you know you have returned the Church of Christianity back to the European nations? As those were two great instructions that were emphasized by our Grand Sheikh. But object of man's life, according to Islam, is its complete unfoldment. Islam teaches that man is born with unlimited capacities for progress. Let me pause and commentate on that again. I'm gonna just hammer that sentence one more time, one more again. I'm from Mississippi, so y'all bear with me when I get country. But it says Islam teaches that man is born with unlimited capacities for progress. Unlimited. So your capacity for progress is literally unlimited. That goes to that victim mentality that our sister referenced. You got to have confidence in your ability because you have unlimited capacity for progress when you return to Islam. Let's keep reading. Islam does not support the idea that man was born in sin. It teaches that everyone has within him the seed of perfect development and rests solely with himself to make or mar his fortune. Man, y'all getting this? Are you really returning to Islam? Do you understand that you have unlimited capacities for progress? Do you understand that you have within you the seed of perfect development? Perfect development. And it rests solely within himself to make or mar his fortune. So it's up to you to determine your fortune. It's up to you. Ain't nobody else coming. Ain't nobody else responsible. It's you. And Islam, one of the things that I really appreciate about Islam, it really brings accountability to self. It takes away the excuses and it forces you to examine what are you doing to live in with peace with your surroundings, with all living things. Islam Grand Sheikh, so you got your hand raised. You have the floor, sir.
Islam. Now, it kind of hit me too when I look at that those two instructions. The word return, is used a couple of times. And you're saying how do we get back to that faith? How do we get to that place? And then it came to my mind that it's really by our religion, right? And the word religion means to re-legion, to realign. It means to regroup. So when I think of how to get to Islam, it is by Islamism, which means the practice of peace. So if Islam is peace, and we always used to say, practice makes perfect, right? So our religion, Islamism, the practice of is that return, to reach that state of felicity or to be in that state of peace. So I just wanted to add that into the mix. I yield. Islam.
Islam. Ism. Islamism. And I'm going to elaborate on that as soon as I get done read this because you made a very great point. And if you missed his point, he just brought attention to the fact that Islamism is how we return to Islam through our religion. That's how we return because Islamism is the cause of Islam. And we'll get to that in a moment. But let me finish reading. The cardinal doctrine of Islam is the unity of the Father Allah. We believe in one God, Allah, who is all God, all mercy, and all power. He is perfect and holy, all wisdom, all knowledge, and all truth. These are some of his great attributes so far as we can understand. He is free from all defects, holy and transcendent. He is personal to us insofar we see his attributes working for us and in us. But he is nevertheless impersonal because he is infinite, perfect, and holy. We do not believe that death, decay, or sleep overtake him. Neither do we believe that he is a helplessly inactive and inert force. Nothing happens without his knowledge and will. He neither begets nor is he begotten, because these are the trails of frail and weak humanity. The unity of Allah is the first and foremost pillar of Islam, and every other belief hangs upon it. So the unity of Allah is the first and foremost pillar of Islam. So this understanding that Allah and man are one. Let's elaborate on the Grand Sheikh's point around how Islamism is the cause of Islam. So let's talk about that. If Islam is what we just described, right? We just read what is Islam. So now we know what Islam is, okay? An ism. What is an ism? If you look up ISM, all right, if we look using Islam in the context of being a noun right now, okay, because we're describing a thing, a belief, a faith. So that would make Islam a noun. If you place an ism on the end of a noun, first off, what is an ism? An ism, by definition, is a political ideology or an artistic movement. Political ideology. When you add the ism to Islam, you created a verb. So our religion of Islamism is an action. It's something we have to practice. We have to consciously conduct ourselves in a righteous way, according to our actions, our words, and our deeds, as proof of our messiahship. We can't harm anybody with our tongue, with our thoughts, with our hands. We are to bring peace on earth and goodwill to all. We are to live by the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. All of these are practices and things that will help us bring about Islam. And going back to chapter 48, this is how we can return to Islam. So examine your actions, examine your behavior, examine your thoughts. Like, really, Facebook asks, what's on your mind? Ask yourself, what's on your mind? What are you thinking about? What do you want to do? Because if you got anything that's outside of peace on earth and goodwill to all, then draw a circle around that passion and desire and bound that in righteousness. Use the axe, chop off the ungainly and useless parts of your character, because that's not what we're here to do. So, Islam, Islam, and Islamism. So, the floor is still open. Islam, our Supreme Grand Governor. What you got, Sheik?
Islam, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
The Grand Sheik of Indiana brought up a valid point when he was expressing what we're returning to. If we're returning to something, that means we were once in possession of it before. And to tie in the ism, our ism, we look at the 4 breaks of the Circle 7. We're dealing with the teachings of Buddhism, the teachings of Confucius, Jesus, and also Muhammad. And in these particular houses or schools of thought, we can find the teachings and the practice of peace. So I just wanted to highlight what the Grand Sheik of Indiana had mentioned, and also what you had mentioned. And also our sister, she gave up a beautiful measure as well, in signs of being self-sufficient and not being so dependent. And that is the outcome of our dean, if you will. And I want to express something too, just to add that Islam is not a religion. It is a way. As you heard the prophet say in the article of the Moorish God, he used the terminology, a simple faith. And we know that faith is what man knows, what he knows, not what he believes. You know, those people in the East believe they're practicing Islam, but here it is contrary. So I just wanted to connect the dots to the bill tonight in regards to that. And also, the Supreme Grand Sheik said that his call keeps dropping. He wanted me to let you know. Peace.
Islam. Praise Allah. I appreciate that, Governor. Um, yeah, I got a text message from him. I ain't been able to open it yet. But let's examine what our Supreme Grand Governor just said. He brought us some very, very, very good points. And he dropped some jewels in there. If you missed them, I'm gonna pick them back up and give them to you again. All right. You should have in your personal text, in your personal library, you should have the Koran of Muhammad, the Bible, the words of Buddha, the Annals of Confucius, and the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Because as he touched on the breaks, as that's where the ism comes in, and those different schools of thought, that's how you learn love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. You want to learn love? Read the Bible. Study it. You want the truth? Study the Koran of Muhammad, the big one with the Q. You know, everybody got different names they want to refer to, but study the Koran. You want to learn peace? Study the words of Buddha. You want to understand and learn freedom? Study the Analects of Confucius. You want to understand justice? Study the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Every Muslim should have that in your library. Those should be your immediate texts, your references to go to as you're growing and unfolding, and as you're dealing with life in different circumstances, and you may come into a crossroad and have to determine how am I going to handle this situation. And I'm just speaking from experience. Okay. One of the things that I like to do if I'm struggling with love, because I'm just in a moment where I really got to learn to love instead of hate. I'm experiencing something that's causing anger inside of me that is contradicting love. Man, I had to grab the Bible. I got to reference something, get some guidance around that. If I'm dealing with truth and I'm stuck in falsehood and I'm struggling, I got to grab my Koran. Islam, we see our Grand Sheik, Temple 14, just raise his hand. Islam, Grand Sheik, you have the floor.
Islam, praise Allah. First, I want to rise and give perfect praise to Allah, honors to his prophet, honors to all honors that was given before, to everyone on the line, to all the leaders. Islam. First off, everything that was spoken is all wise, right, and exact as far as pertaining to the lesson. And our Supreme Grand Governor made a great point just now. But what was on my mind is the question that was posed is how does it look when we return Christianity to the Europeans? And my first thought is, because you got to think about this thing when you have Christianity and Christendom, is that was a whole movement, and that created a train of thought. And a lot of Moors, a lot of Asiatics, Moors, and everyone don't even know that they're still in that train of thinking as the so-called oppressor, or thinking as a so-called European. Because if you look at the way some of the lives unfold, obviously you're not keeping your hearts and mind pure with love, and then your thinking is off. This is why it's important that, like the Grand Sheik Indiana said, Islamism, the thought is the cause of it all. So we have to change our thoughts first before you can start even begin to. You can physically do the act and say and disassociate yourself from these groups, but if you're still thinking like this, you're still trapped in that cycle. And with that, I yield. Peace of love.
Islam. Islam, sister, you have the floor. Islam, did you have a thought you want to demonstrate?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Islam. Yes, I called in, so I can't see. I can't raise my hand. I don't want to. I don't mean to be disrespectful. Islam. I called in, so I couldn't see how to raise my hand. I've been trying to figure that out for at least 15 minutes.
All is well. You have the floor.
Anyway, I give praises to the great God Allah, and I give highest honor to Prophet Noble Jew Ali. to Emil. I give honor to my ancestors, and I give honors to you for facilitating this grand Quran class. I give honor to all the officials of the Moorish Science Temple of America, past and present, and I give honors to everything that has gone forth before me. I wanted to speak on how I knew that I had returned Christianity to the European nation, and that I had returned to my forefathers and mothers' divine creed. How I knew that is that I was free to practice and to work on myself. As our noble prophet said, you know, if I can just get you to think, you can save yourself. So I was very intent on saving myself because in Christianity, which I was actually brought up in, that there was so much condemnation. You have to do this. He died for your sins. No, no one can die for my sin. Meaning I do now know what a sin is. Sin is going in someone else's name, but in that doctrine, the sin is these earthly things, etc. But how I knew that I returned to my forefathers and mothers' divine creed was that I received no condemnation. And I knew that I had to be accountable for myself. And no one else could do that for me. It doesn't rub off. Like if you do it, then I can jump in and be, on it with you. No, ma'am. You must do this for yourself. Islam. And I thank you for giving me the floor. And again, I give honors to you as well. And I yield. Islam.
Islam. Praise Allah. I really appreciate you and what you just shared, sis. Can y'all hear me? Islam, can y'all hear me?
Islam.
Pardon me. I just had a phone call and knocked my Bluetooth out. But honest to the sister, and I just want to. One thing she said that really, really stood out to me was there was no condemnation, no longer being condemned, finding a place to where you're at peace. And one of the things that I can appreciate in what she brought to us is that, and even applying that to us, we don't condemn people because of their religious belief. That's not the Muslim way. That's not Islam. Part of being at peace, and religion is a constitutionally secured right. So you can believe whatever you choose to believe. As it's taught to us here in America, that means you're not condemning people. You are living and leading by love. You're not going to allow something like religious controversy to interfere with your ability to love your brothers and your sisters. So I really appreciate that, and thank you for sharing your thoughts. Contribution is greatly appreciated. So, what else though? Who else has a thought? And if you go another portion from that chapter 48. Any other instructions from chapter 48 that just really jumped out to you? Because I think we're hammering, and it's fair to say, correct me if I'm wrong, but we all got clear guidance on how to return to Islam. Each and every one of us. We all know that we're not supposed to be harming anybody with our hands, our tongues, or our thoughts. We're not supposed to be condemning other people. We're supposed to be leading with love. We understand that we weren't born in sin, that it rests solely upon us, the maker of our fortune. Islam, Grand Sheik, you have the floor, sir.
Islam, I just wanted to touch on one part that I think is very key and crucial to all of us, especially the youth, is instruction 9. And instruction 9 reads, "The covenant of the great God Allah, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the earth land, which the Lord thy God hath given thee." The Lord thy God Allah hath given thee. Now, when we talking about this, not only is this your parents, but this is all the elders. This is a community. When the youth see an elder, that's auntie or that's uncle, and we mean that, and we live by that. You treat an elder like that's your grandmother or your grandfather. That's how I try to live. And by request of my grandmother before she ascended, she said, "Baby, please make sure you take care of other elders, because you never know, I might be in need of help one day and you're not here." So, with that being said, honor your father and your mothers. Yes, your parents as well, but you honor other parents as well, other elders in the community as well. And as a Moorish nation, we ought to have a higher appreciation for womanhood anyway. So let's keep that in mind. With that, I yield. Praise Allah.
Islam. Hope y'all more caught that. The simplicity around honoring our elders. It's very simple. That's something else too that I would say that I think is a an indicator that you have returned to Islam is your ability to simplify things. Your ability to articulate thoughts in a very simple way where anybody can understand. And he made it plain. You gotta honor the elders. How do you honor the elders? Be respectful, be considerate, be polite, simple things. Everything that we're talking about in this movement, in this school of thought, is about character development. And as we are in the end of time, in the fulfilling of the prophecies, we're all experiencing brand new things because prophecies are being fulfilled. I don't know about y'all, but I didn't bear witness to quite, and it just confirms that our prophet is a prophet. So honest to you, Grand Sheik, for sharing that. And if I may, I have something else in here that I would like to bring attention to at this hammer because it really stood out to me, and it was in instruction 3. And I'm going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to emphasize when I get to that point. But it reads that in these modern days, there came a forerunner of Jesus, who was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey. Let me pause for a second because there's a comma there. Many of my teachers, they taught me that you got to pause when you're reading this Quran and you get to a comma. You got to pause and contemplate. So if it's saying that in these modern days, there came a forerunner of Jesus, who was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey. So if Marcus Garvey in these modern days is the forerunner of Jesus, then can we see how Noble Drew Ali is Jesus returned? It's touching on that, it's alluding to that. What does the name Jesus mean? Jesus means justice. So let me go ahead and read a little bit more. And then it goes on to read, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet. And this is Marcus Garvey, who taught and warned the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet. Then it goes on to read, after the semicolon, who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam. So the true and divine creed of Islam. And his name is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old time religion and the everlasting gospel to the sons of men. So Noble Drew Ali was sent to this earth to teach the everlasting gospel. Islam Sheik, brother Sheik, Mullins Bay, Temple 19. Islam, brother, you have the floor.
Islam, my rise giving praise to Allah and highest honest, holy divine prophet, Drew Ali, giving honest to everything that's given honest to, giving honest to each and every last one of you. It's an honor to be on here with you all. Some very powerful measures. Something I want to bring out, in addition to your demonstration, with instructions 4 and 5. And it states the Moorish Scientific of America is a lawfully chartered and incorporated organization. Any subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the Prophet has them to issue to every state throughout the United States. And the main point I want to hit on was the 5, that the world may hear and know the truth, that among the descendants of Africa there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption of the sons of men under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Um, these particular uh, verses are near and dear to my heart. Because I come from a background of spreading gospels, of propagating. And it says here that the world, not just America, not just our towns, not just our city, but we're being told here that the world has to know. The world has to hear and know the truth. And so it's important for us to spread and teach the sons of men about love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and spread this gospel that Allah has bestowed upon us from our holy divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. So I just want to put that out there. May Allah be pleased with you all. Peace.
Islam. Islam. Praise Allah. Honestly, you sheik. Extend my five to my beloved brother Haru Ranesi L as well down there in Atlanta. Wonderful group of Moors down there. But I love how he emphasized how, and I was want to hammer that point too with instruction 5. And he notice he reminded us that it's the world, the whole world, Craig, everybody, the whole world. These lessons that we have, these instructions, they're universal. They will work everywhere that you go. All right. So just keep that in mind that yes, we were blessed to, for our prophet to come to us first because we needed him the most. But again, these lessons are universal. We must propagate this everywhere that we go. We must stand on this through our actions, our words, and our deeds. And if I can hammer one other point from instruction 5, that the world may hear and know the truth, that among the descendants of Africa, there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption of sons and men under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Just as a nice, friendly reminder that as we are all descendants of Africa, and we understand how people have different ideologies around what does that mean to be a descendant of Africa. Some think we're descendants of slaves, some think we're the Israelites, some would say that we're all types of different ideals. But we can all agree on the fact that we are at least descendants of Africa. And we also can accept the reality that as descendants of Africa, we must learn love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. There's so much redemption to be learned through that school of thought by living by those principles and prioritizing them. We can really accomplish a lot. And let me push this back to the floor as well. Can anybody please give me an example? Or how do you live by love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice? How do you use the principles on a daily basis? How do you handle it in certain situations? How do you live by that? How do these principles help keep you on the right path? Because we know the great meeting is on. We know it can get hard sometimes. But what do you do when you run in those moments? Matter of fact, let me put my I was able to put my babies down. So I'm able to be a little more present with y'all now. But what does it look like? Islam, Ashley, you have the floor, sis.
Islam family. I just wrote a list, which is so divine. I made a list before I came to class today, and I actually talked about the benefits of forgiveness. So I just wanted to note that it is benefits of forgiving others. But how do I demonstrate this? It's a saying that they use. My grandma used to say all the time. God only take care of fools and babies. So,
Mm,
by me coming into the Moorish Science Temple of America, I know better. And when you know better, you do better. And I have to look at, all Asiatics, some don't know what I know. So how can I demonstrate love, peace, truth, freedom, and justice by showing compassion and humility, by
mm,
understanding that we are all not on the same page, but we can get there. I can meet them at this level by demonstrating this love, just like we treat our children. We are all children, so we have to teach each other how to love each other, how to treat each other. And I wrote this list because someone had treated me super, super bad. But I have to understand that, this person doesn't know what I know, but he's going to learn today. So that's all I have, family.
Islam. Praise Allah, sis. Honor to you for your testimony. I really love that. Did y'all see how she actually wrote out a list? And she touched on something that I think it was the first time I heard it tonight. And she said forgiveness. Yes, yes, yes. Forgiveness. More learn to forgive yourself for the mistakes that you made earlier in life, and learn to forgive others for the mistakes that they made earlier in life. Remember, and this is another gauge to assess how you are living out the principles, right? How you're living by them, right? First off, let's really examine this, okay? What is the higher self? The higher self is the mother of virtues and a harmony of life and breathes justice, mercy, love, and right. That's indicative of you being, this indicative of you returning to Islam. Your ability to live and to manifest justice, mercy, love, and right. If the more you're able to do that, the more you're returning and living in Islam. Part of that forgiveness degree, it requires mercy. You got to give mercy, man. So often, Moorish Americans, or just the public at large, hold grudges against people because people make human errors and end up judging people off of their mistakes as if you didn't make mistakes before, as if you're got it all together. Ain't none of us perfect. We are all building the temple of perfected man, which means we ain't there yet. We working there. We trying, and we're all on different parts on the road, but we're on the same road. So if I see you in the street on the same road, I love you. If you're not on the road, I love you too. Come get on this path of self-development, this path of self-accountability, this path of growth, this path of maturity and being responsible to be a better husband, a better wife, a better son, a better daughter, a better mother, a better father, etc. That's what we're here to, that's what we're pushing for. And I think that collectively we're getting there. But I really appreciate the fact that she did a few things. She wrote out a list of practical things. She also made a great point and said that, hey, everybody's not on the same road. They don't know what I know. You're right. People don't know what you know. They don't know what you read and what you study and what you're doing in your spare time. So be compassionate and have a heart that's open to understanding, all right? Because that's the only way we're going to get there. So just thank you, sis, for sharing your testimony and really appreciate that. And the floor is still open. Anybody else would like to share any takeaways, anything that stood out for them from chapter 48 of the Holy Koran? Anything you've heard tonight that you would like more clarity around, or a little more of an explanation around, or other portions of understandings around? This is a study class, y'all. We here to study. Okay? We ain't all perfect. We ain't got it all figured out, but we gonna learn together. Islam, Sister Diamond.
I just wanted to kind of camel back off of sis. One of the ways that I've learned to practically advocate is to ask myself of the five principles. Like after I do anything, after I say anything, in this finite plane, I go back and ask myself, okay, now what you just said, was it truthful? What you just did it show truth? You know what I'm saying? Was it of love? Was that really of love? When you said what you said, did you feel love in your heart when you said it, when you did it? You know what I'm saying? Did you create a space of peace, or did you go in there and cause unrest? Or did you create a space where people could feel, or did you make somebody feel like they was bound in chains? Like that's how I begin to advocate and really ask myself those questions to understand, did I come in peace and leave in love? Pretty much. Islam.
Islam. Wow. So
Islam.
what I heard, Islam, and I'm a yield to you one moment. I just want to just recap what the sister said, and then we're gonna go to
Sure,
whoever the
sure.
next. I just want to say one thing real quick. Did you notice that she touched on essentially what she's doing is the sister has been doing is reflection. Reflection is a businessman. So she's reflecting on her interactions. She's reflecting on her impact and asking herself, did I? Am I? Do I? Will I? It all comes back to self. And if you're holding yourself accountable, then guess what? Anybody else doing the same is just helping you. That's why we can welcome constructive criticism inside and outside of our ranks. So please hold me accountable because I'm doing the same thing. And the more help that I have in the topic on that in that field, the better off I'm going to be with being accountable as a leader, as a person, as a man, as a woman, whoever or whatever you may be. But Islam, whoever had their comment, I'm gonna yield the floor to you, and then we got quite a few with their hands up. We're gonna go to next.
Sister Maati Bey, Islam.
Islam.
Yeah, how do I live these principles? I give honors to all that went before me again. And the sister, when she stated about, I'll come back on her about the forgiveness. Absolutely. One other thing, how I live this every day is loving myself and showing empathy to myself, right? Because if I can't love myself, I definitely cannot love anyone else. And so what that looks like for me is that I set boundaries, because in my previous life, I was a people pleaser, right? And I no longer do that. And so that's how I know that I'm living the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Because first of all, I love myself. I tell the truth to myself, no matter how raw it may be. I'm at peace with myself most of the time. Of course, there are, things that come up, of course. However, I try to be at peace with myself, meaning I have a state of mind where I believe that maybe chapter 12, which is my favorite chapter, teaching what Jesus was teaching the common people. And he was stating that, your thoughts are wrong. So when I have right thoughts and I don't let that old pattern come back and that in my ears saying, oh, that's not gonna work out, this, that, or whatever, I no longer do that. So for me, the biggest thing is setting boundaries, being forgiving myself and loving myself. Islam, I use.
Islam. Wow. She said a buzzword. Boundaries. She said she set boundaries for herself. You understand? She set her own boundaries. That's how you apply them tools in the workshop of the mind. She's drawing a circle around her passion and desires. And if she crossed that bound of righteousness, she reels herself back in and examines the impact that she's having on others. One thing that really stood out, then we're gonna go to the next person with their hand up. We're gonna go with ladies first. So I see our sister, it looks like Shawnette got her hand up. I'm gonna go to her next, but I just wanna love how it's all about holding yourself accountable, man. It's all about you and the impact you're having on other people. It's in one word, it's compassion. Having compassion for others, recognizing the connection we all share, and not being a person that contributes in any way, shape, or form to anything that brings harm. And then we're gonna go to Charnette in the next, and then I got another question I'm gonna present when we get hearing what everybody else got to say. But Islam, I yield the floor to you, Sister Charnette. We can't hear you, sis, if you're talking or if you're still there.
Islam, can y'all hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
I was having a tiny conversation by myself.
Islam.
Islam, everybody. Peace and love. Islam to our prophet, Islam to all things Moorish, honors to everything Moorish, honors to you all for showing up. I just wanted to piggyback on my sisters and say that, somebody said forgiveness, and yes, that is a big, huge thing. But also for me, a lot of these things that I'm learning, I was already taught growing up. You are what your forefathers are without doubt or contradiction. We all know this. My mother instilled these things in me already without me even knowing. So some of these things are very, they're natural to me. But the one thing that I do every day, faithfully, religiously, without thought or effort, is to treat people how you want to be treated. When you start off with that, you always have a good outcome, and you always are on the other side and on the up and up. When you see your brother or your sister in adversity, you help them. I don't care what it is. It could be food, it could be a hug, it could be just saying simply, I love you and I'm here for you. You know, you treat people how you want to be treated. My mother used to always tell me, never look down on anybody because you never know when you may be in that predicament. So my daughter is 19 now. She knows I don't have to look at her and say anything. I don't have to be like, say thank you, or, you know, how we coach our kids along. I've shown her that. She sees that. We live that this is an everyday thing. As long as we all treat people the way we expect to be treated, all is well. And once you put your hand in Allah's hand, you know all is well.
Whew.
I yield.
Islam. Man, y'all getting this? Are y'all getting this? Are y'all listening? Are y'all hearing the simplicity? Sis hit us with the ancient golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. That's how you return to Islam. Do unto others how you want them to do unto you. It's so simple, man. That's it. Treat people right. Show some respect. Honor your elders. Have integrity. It's simple, man. So Islam. We got both the grand sheiks have their hands up. We got Temple 14 and in Indiana. So who want to go first,
Islam,
grand sheiks? Islam.
Islam brothers, Sheik, Indiana. You can go first, my brother.
Islam. Got two more. I reiterate my praise and my honors. Uh, I just speaking on the point of the applying the five principles or utilizing them. It made me think, you know, about man and the state of man being truth and falsehood strangely mixed, and how we have uh, our two selves,
Mm-hmm.
higher self and lower self. So then, if we have two selves, yeah, keeping it simple, it makes me think of decision. And those five principles, um, in many ways, are just giving us a decision. Because if we are two selves, then you either going to go with the higher or you're going to go with the lower. So then that took me back to, uh, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali telling us to love instead of hate. But a lot of time we um, may stop there with it. But I think that was a key to lean into those other five principles. The love is the first principle. So he was giving us that first key. Hey, love instead of hate. So then that
Mm.
means, truth over falsehood, peace over chaos, freedom over bondage, and justice over injustice, so to say. So when we're utilizing those five principles, they're really, in many ways, decisions to be made. Every moment in life presents a decision to be made. And so what those principles represent in many ways is when those moments come, to use those as those guides, as the principles to make that higher self decision instead of the lower self, love instead of hate and so forth. So that's how I try to utilize them and think about them in my personal life. So Islam, I yield.
Islam. Hope y'all caught that clear, simple example and demonstration he just gave us. It comes down to decision making. Every day you have to make a conscious decision. How are you going to handle this situation? Now, in order to be effective in that, you need to know what the higher self breeds and what the lower self breeds. So you can reflect and examine what were you operating in. So before we go to our Grand Sheik, I just want to elaborate a little bit more about what our Grand Sheik Indiana just brought to us around that decision making. Okay. What does the higher self breed? Justice, mercy, love, and right. What does the lower self breed? Hatred, slander, looters, murder, theft, and everything that harms. So as you're examining and reflecting on your days, and you're reflecting on your interactions with others and how you're conducting yourself, ask yourself, or more importantly, Ask the people around you. Ask the people you're interacting with. You know, have you done anything that has hurt them? Have you caused harm to another person? Have you demonstrated some hate, some slander, some lewdness, some murder, some theft, anything that harms? Have you? Because although people might be sensitive, you have to be compassionate to their sensitivity. You have to be understanding of that. Now, this don't mean walk on eggshells, because we know the truth is stern and requires no apology. But to a certain extent, we got to have some basic abilities here to be able to interact on high with people and not vibrate on that lower frequency, because we don't wish to harm anybody. That's not Islam. So let's stay on Islam. Let's fulfill these prophecies by being the strength of Allah made manifest, by being obedient, by being disciplined, by being good Muslims. Let's do it every day. So Islam Grand Sheikh, you have the floor, sir.
Well, Islam, praise Allah. I just want to say that first off, thank y'all for the alley oop, because that was right in line with I agree with everything that was said, because it's all right on point. And really what grounds me and try to help me go down that list every time is I try to think of what impact or what memory is this person going to have from an encounter with me. Did they meet my higher self or did they meet my lower self? So and it's always, for me nowadays, lately, it's always been, as of late, a pleasant surprise to walk up and someone is having a conversation about me, but they don't stop talking when I walk through because it's positive from something I didn't even know I had did. So praise Allah. And I'm telling you, more, it's tedious and it gets tiresome, and it's never going to be all gravy all the time, because you're never all good, you're never all bad, but you just try to make the best and make sure that your good deeds outweigh your bad deeds, just like our prophet said. With that out of you, peace and love.
Man, I absolutely love this class. I do. I mean, there's so much guidance here. I mean, you heard what the Grand Sheik said there. Again, reflection, reflecting the impact that he's having on other people, and being conscious and intentional with leaving a positive impression. Not getting caught up in what they say, because people are going to talk, man. They talked about Jesus. They talk about the prophet. All of them. That's what people do. When you're an influential person, you're gonna get talked about. So get some tough skin. Because once you proclaim your nationality, you are a national leader. You are an influential person. If you're on this call, you're a leader. I know that because I only deal with leaders. Everybody I'm talking to, you are a leader in your own right. You have to be conscious and intentional with how you're impacting other people. Islam. Oh man, my son keeps calling me. Pause for a second. I gotta take this. I gotta see what my son wants. Islam. Islam, can you guys hear me? Islam, can you guys hear me? Hello? Hello?
Islam, Sheikh, you echoing a little bit, but we can hear you.
Islam, pardon me. Hold on. Let me correct these devices. My son called me, so I had to see what he needed. Can you still hear me fine?
Islam.
Islam. Yeah, I had to switch devices real quick. But back to the point at hand, right? I love how the collective feedback from everybody around how you make sure you return to Islam. It's all about self-examination. Okay. And the impact you're having on yourself first and on others. Are you creating a heaven for yourself? Are you at peace with yourself? Are you staying in your higher self when you're demonstrating with others? And that's a simple examination of those of the one-on-ones. If you're unfamiliar, because I know this is a public meeting, so we may have people up here. Maybe you haven't been to a Sunday school. Maybe you haven't been to a Holy Day. This might be your very first time listening or tuning in to a Moorish meeting. First thing I would encourage you to do is get back to whoever invited you to the call and ask them to attend the Holy Day with them, please. And if it was word of mouth, or you just got on because you tuned in, or if we're friends on Facebook, or if somebody shared it on social media in one of the different groups, and if you're looking for a temple home that you could tune into, you could just tune in here. We got meetings here on Fridays. Our Grand Sheik, Reginald Timzell, he's the one showing the hearts up there. He's capable of propagating the faith and teaching very well. If you're in Indiana, we have a Grand Sheik in Fort Wayne, Indiana. If you're in Newport News, Virginia, we got our brother Corey Lindell is the Grand Sheik out there. If you're in California, go to 8701 South Normandy Avenue and you go see the Grand Sheik, Zach Dolphin L. Everywhere you go, we got Moors everywhere. In every major city, there's a group of Moors. If you were in Atlanta, get online, get in tune with the brother Haru Ranesi L. One of the sheiks is on the line. He's from Atlanta, temple number 19. It's a lot. It's a whole lot of Moors on the line. I mean, we got over 20 people up here today and from all around the country. So praise Allah, honest to each and every one of you. So as we continue on, before we continue on with the agenda, is there any other questions, clarity, concerns, or is anybody confused about anything that was demonstrated today? So we can make sure we clarify that before we move on to the next part of our agenda tonight. And just a brief recap, so we're all on one accord. We've gone over chapter 19. We've covered the excerpt of Islam. We've had very healthy dialogue around how do we ensure we are returning to Islam? How do we ensure we are returning the Church of Christianity back to the European nations? And overall, just some great takeaways from everybody that's contributed. Great feedback, great dialogue. And I think everybody should have some guidance and some assistance at this point with knowing how to be a better Muslim and how to function as a Moorish American Muslim. So with that being said, let me pull up our agenda. So I like to stay on point with what we intend on discussing. Because, you know, us Moors, man, we could get on. We could start building, man. It'd be 4-5 hours from now. And I got to stay on track with time. So let me go to where we at. The Drew Ali in time. So there's two things I wanted to read. So let me cover that. So in the Moorish literature, right? So we touched on the masterpiece of religious creeds, which essentially is our Holy Koran, the Moorish Science Temple of America. That is our primary holy text, if you will, that we like to refer to and we study from. We study all the holy prophets. So we study the Bible, the Koran, the words of Buddha, Annas of Confucius, and the Holy Koran, the Moorish Science of America. However, today we're being the intro. We're just going to stay on Drew Ali for a moment. So let me touch on something. Drew Ali in time. And this is another reading from the Moorish literature. If you don't know, the Moorish literature is what we affectionately call a compilation of different publications that were published in the Moorish Guide when the Prophet was on the scene. But there's different ones that he read. And this one particularly is entitled Drew Ali in Time. Friday, September 28th, 1928. Allah has sent us a prophet and sent him in time with a holy message, which is divine. He came to let the Asiatics of America know they are of the ancient family of the Moors. His spiel was to the Asiatics first. Why? Because they have been sinners since their departure from their forefathers' religion. Oh, sinners, why don't you hear the soul of Islam ringing in your ears? The Prophet has said that if I were you, I will get ready before you are made to do so. Now come and pick up your forefathers and mothers' ancient and divine creed, which carries your national name indeed. It will entitle you to your rights, which you have been denied, because in 1774, your light was cut off from the ancient Moors. And that is why Allah has sent to us a prophet in 1886 to prepare the light that was out. In 1925, the prophet said, I have mended the broken wires and I've connected them with the higher powers. So come on, Asiatics. Don't you want to go? We were marching on to Canaan. I used to think that it was a city in the sky, but now I know it is here on earth. Don't you want your share? Don't you, Moors? Genuinely, don't you want your share? And the only way you're going to get your share is if you vibrate higher, if you can be your higher self. So if we continue to practice returning to Islam, then we should all examine our thoughts, our words, our actions. And remember, a follower of Islam in the true sense of the word is one whose hands, tongues, and thoughts do not hurt others. So if you're thinking about harming somebody, that's not Islam. That's not Islam. Check your thoughts. Get your mind right. Okay? If you're saying things that are harming others, falsely accusing, slandering, gossiping, stop it. That's not Islam. Now, if you're demonstrating justice, if you're extending mercy, because you could tear them up, but you're going to give them mercy. That's your higher self. That's simple. Okay? Love and right. If you're doing any of those, then you're in your higher self. Lead more towards that. And when those moments come, and this is my question that I would like to pose to the floor, and if anybody can answer, what do you do if you have violated those principles? How do you make amends and fix that? Now that we're conscious of what it means to return to Islam, what happens if you practice something that you used to do before you understood Islam? And you do it today. What if you do it tomorrow? Well, we got a comment in the comment section. Make a speedy reparation. Make a speedy reparation. So that we talking about reparations? No, more we talking about reparations, man. These the real reparations. That's what we talking about. If you do anything that harms somebody else, and the thing about it, if you harm somebody, it ain't you. You don't get to gauge and determine whether or not that harmed them. They tell you if it caused pain. They'll let you know. If you insult somebody because they're a Christian, that ain't Islam. How you a Muslim attacking people because they love Jesus in the form of Christianity? That ain't what Moors do. What's wrong with you, Moors? We are here to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. If you're speaking radical against a member of an organized group, any organized group, I don't care what the group is. Is it organized? If you're talking about them, that ain't Islam. If you do any of those things, again, make a speedy reparation. Correct it. Open your heart to understand and be compassionate on how your actions, your words, and deeds impacted that individual, and fix it. Apologize. It's okay to apologize when you've done wrong. It's okay to say, hey, I didn't look at it from that perspective. Hey, I didn't understand how I impacted you. I didn't know that bothered you. Now that I'm aware, let me correct that. I'm going to practice like this now. That's you consciously practicing Islam. Because the goal of man's life, according to Islam, is what? Peace with yourself, peace with Allah and all living creatures and all living things, peace with everything around you. So you got to be conscious towards that, and you got to work towards that. It's not just going to happen because you said you a Muslim. It don't just happen like that. Allah and man are one. That means Allah got to be in you, walking around this earth plane, functioning. You got to be the one to demonstrate that. So do it. You got to eat better. You got to think better. You got to drink better. You got to take better care of yourself. Simple things. So you can live according to Islam. Because in order to find peace, you got to find that homeostasis, that healthy homeostasis within yourself, that balance between the higher self and the lower self. It's obtainable. But again, if you have violated any of these, make a speedy reparation. And this is the reparation we're talking about. I guarantee you, when we get these reparations in line from an infinite perspective on the spirit plane, then we could talk about finite reparations all day. We could talk about all the finite concepts all day. But let's get the infinite part fixed. Let's raise our thoughts to infinite wisdom. Let's be the message that we bring. Let's be accountable. Straight up. Don't complicate this. This is Moorish science. It is not rocket science. It's Moorish science. Okay? It's the science of the Moors. It's simple. Okay? It ain't this complex legalese, jailhouse lawyer rhetoric context. No disrespect to anybody when I'm saying this. I'm just speaking from the heart and the simplicity of Islam with the hopes and aims that we will return to it in its pure, pristine teachings as our beloved prophet teaches us and tells us to. Now, the final part of our agenda is obviously just to announce to you all that this will be a weekly meeting every week. We had our Supreme Grand Sheik as a speaker tonight, but he was having some technical difficulties with his phone. He extended his honors to everybody. He said he got to get a new phone tomorrow, and I'm sure I'll be on his line. I'll hear from him tomorrow. He just sent me a text and said, "More, just demonstrate," and we got it. You know, praise Allah. We love him for being a really good elder. And let me say this too. All right. As an elder, one of the reasons why I respect and honor Kenyu Umar Bey so much, he's an elder that genuinely passes the torch and puts people on and teaches people the pure, pristine teachings. He doesn't promote any divisiveness. All right. He doesn't speak ill against other people. He speaks the truth, which can be stern sometimes. And sometimes it can be like, wow, did you really just say it like that? Yes. But what experience is teaching me that as you get older, your gauge and your willingness to just have your courage for truth increases. And I think he's done a wonderful job keeping the doors open, you know, creating the space for Moorish Americans, for Asiatics to come into the Moorish Science Temple of America, to become a part of the Moorish National Movement. All right. Some to become sheiks, adepts, governing heads, all types of opportunities and things that have been extended because we're faithful. We show up. So I commend him and all the officials and all the staff and all the elders, everybody that's doing their part, because there's a lot of work. There's enough work for everybody. And I'm just grateful that we're doing this. And again, every Wednesday, we'll be on the line, public meeting. We'll be going over a different chapter. This creation, we went over chapter 48 and a couple of excerpts from the Moorish literature. Next week, we'll go into chapter 47. Same thing. Again, these meetings are public, so wherever you are, whether you're in a temple or not, come in, tune in. Please feel free to share this link as you get the next one. Share it with anybody in the public. We create the events online. It's all public. So Islam, Islam, Islam. Now, as we begin to lower the meeting, before we do that, I want to read another excerpt and demonstrate on. And this is from the Moorish Science Temple of America. That's what it's entitled. The Moorish Science Temple of America. Let me read this. The Moorish Science Temple of America was founded by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Aside from the fact that it is a legally organized religious corporation, it is building on human needs. Let me pause and commentate, because I have to commentate. We are building on human needs. So the information you hear is things what I'm saying, it's what humans need. All right. So just keep that in mind when you come amongst the group of Moors that are in the Moorish Science Temple of America, regardless of which group you are amongst. Because as you already have seen and heard, hopefully tonight, if you didn't know, we have Moors on the line from California to Georgia, Virginia, New Jersey, Alabama, Indiana, New Jersey. Did I say New Jersey? Yeah. I mean, all around the country. And this is common. So just keep that in mind, that we have way more in common than what we have different. And remember, we're building on human needs. So let me stop commentating and get back to reading. To this desirable end, in time, legitimate means will be found to dispense charity and provide for the mutual assistance of its members in time of distress, to aid in the improvement of health. Now, I hope you're paying attention. Let me commentate again. Right here, we're covering the basic things that the Moorish Science Temple of America is here to address. Okay? The in time legitimate means we found to dispense charity and provide for the mutual assistance of its members in time of distress, to aid in the improvement of health, and to encourage the ownership of better homes, to find employment for our members, to teach those fundamental principles that which are desired for our civilization, such as obedience to law, respect and loyalty to government, tolerance and unity. Pause. Let me commentate again. Shout out North Carolina and Mama on the line. Islam, Mama, how you doing? But we want to help our members get better homes, ownership of better homes. These are the things we want to do to find employment for our members. Yeah, we want to help you get a job. We want to help you find remunerative employment. We want to teach those fundamental principles which are desired for our civilization, such as obedience to law. Yes, we want you to be obedient to the law. Not a lawbreaker, but obey the law. Respect and loyalty to government. Did you get that? Respect and loyalty to government. Tolerance and unity. These are some of the things that we're seeking to impart on our members. These are some of the services that we're extending and offering to our members. And I'm a member first. Before I'm a sheik, supreme official, governor, all that other stuff, man, I'm a member, faithful member, first and foremost. I'm your brother, man, and friend. All the titles are just assignments. Okay? It's not my identity. It's an assignment that we have been placed, that we've been charged with. And we're going to fulfill our assignments very well because we love our people. So let me get back to reading. It is most earnestly hoped that the Moorish Science Temple of America will not in any way be confused with any Back to Africa movement. Such is not important insofar as American citizens of our group colonizing Africa are concerned. We of the Moorish Science Temple of America, like countless other American citizens, know that we must live together here in America in harmony, friendship, and goodwill, whatever our race and creed may be. It is only from a purely religious standpoint, it seems at this time, that we differ from a large number of our fellow Americans. We believe in and foster the Muslim religion. We believe in the principles of its teachings, insofar they can be adopted to American life. We feel that the Christian religion is our right for those who prefer it. In America, religious freedoms is guaranteed all under the Constitution. We are interested in freeing ourselves and our children from the greatest plight, economic slavery. We believe this can be best done by encouraging, patronizing, and establishing our own business enterprises and cultivating our own acres of land. We welcome into our folds men and women of our group of all sections, all trades, occupations, and professions of sound mind and good character. Pause. Let me commentate again. Bring attention to that. Everybody's welcome. But there's a few prerequisites that we're looking for. Sound mind and good character. So we respect whatever it is that you got to bring, but do you have a sound mind? Do you? Do you have good character? These are the types of individuals that we're seeking. Now, everybody's welcome, but who we looking for is those with sound mind and good character. Them the people that we need to come amongst us, to be with us, and to take their place amongst the affairs of man, to help take this movement to the next level. Let me read this final paragraph. And it reads, we are friends and servants of humanity. We are dedicated to the purpose of elevating the moral, social, and economic status of our people. We are set about to do this through a wide and comprehensive program embodying the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Islam. So there it is. Who are we? Friends and servants of humanity. Are we focusing on status correction? Yes. The moral, social, and economic status of our people, not your individual status. That ain't what we're talking about. Not how you do commerce. So often we see Moors pushing that. That ain't what we're talking about. The status that we're talking about is the moral, social, and economic status of our people. We ain't worried about who the European call you. We got another resolution for that. This is not an individualized movement. It's a collective movement. So it's very important that Moors get into that collective school of thought. And always remember that what I want for myself, I want for my brother. So it ain't about you. It's about us. And everything you say and everything you do has to be considerate of us. Because we have set about to do this through a wide and comprehensive program embodying the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So there's a program that we're on in the Moorish Science Temple of America, in this Moorish Divine National Movement. For what purpose was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? For the uplifting of fallen humanity. How did the Prophet begin to uplift the Moorish Americans? By teaching them to be themselves. That's all. So I encourage you, be yourself. I encourage you to vibrate higher. I encourage you to accept that we are in the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecies. And that's not the end of the world like everybody's about to crash and burn and doom and gloom. No, it means the world as we knew it is behind us. And if COVID didn't make that plain for you, what else do you need to see? It's a new world, y'all. It's different. It's a new era of time now. And all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized. So do you desire to be recognized? Because if you do, then that's what you got to do. And as before I bring it to a final close, one more thing is I need to read a few oral statements. I had this in the agenda for those that have the agenda. And also, if you didn't know, there is an agenda that will be sent out every single week. I'm a firm believer that in a professional environment, you kind of need an agenda in order to have an effective meeting. So I encourage everybody that if you would like to see the agenda before we have these meetings, just ask. I'll send it. It is shared with all Supreme officials. So they're already aware of exactly what is on the agenda for these meetings. But if you are a member or a visitor, if you're a visitor, get back with whoever invited you. All right, go visit the temple with them, make your meetings. And if you just found out online, then again, whoever you found out about the meeting, send that person a message. If it's on Facebook Messenger, Instagram, whatever. But a couple of statements I just want to read from the Prophet. And this is from Quotes of the Prophet. It's a book that has a few different statements. And one of them reads, the Holy Prophet said, I took the covers off of all the secret organizations. He took the covers off. Ain't no more secrets. Another one is, the Holy Prophet said, a beggar nation cannot attain to its highest degree of spirituality. A beggar nation cannot attain to its highest degree of spirituality. The Holy Prophet said, if your brother does something wrong to you, don't call him a nigger, call him a dirty Moor. The Holy Prophet told the Moors that we need warehouses, that we need to have warehouses. The Holy Prophet said, if you have a wife and she does not belong to the temple, instead of giving her one apple, give her two. The Holy Prophet said one day the United States will not be able to do any business unless they do it through the Asiatics. Let me read another one, because I'm just picking random ones, but let me read an intentional one that has happened So you can really understand that we are at the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecies. A couple of them, actually. One of them says, the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, one day, every wheel of industry is going to stop. And when they start up again, it will be in the Asiatic favor. I'm sorry, it will be in the Asiatic's favor. Y'all remember COVID? Y'all remember when every wheel of industry stopped? Remember you couldn't go outside? Remember you couldn't do anything? Why? It was the changing of the guard. Okay. The Holy Prophet said if the European be just, they will have an Asiatic vice president. And if they have an Asiatic president, they'll have a European vice president. Y'all remember the guy, Barack Obama? He's an Asiatic, right? He was president. And Joe Biden was the vice president, right? And now Joe Biden's the president. Kamala Harris is the vice president. That's the Asiatic president and European vice president. And now it's a European president and an Asiatic vice president. This is just two examples of prophecies being fulfilled. Two. Another example of a prophecy being fulfilled. And this is found in your Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America on page 3. Just read it. And then I'm ready to lower the meeting after that. I'm gonna read the last sections of this. The last sentence in the first paragraph and then the final paragraph at the bottom on page 3 in the Koran. And it says, all authority and rights of publishing of this pamphlet of 1927 by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. The industrious acts of the Muslims of Northwest and Southwest Africa. These are the Moabites, Hamathites, Canaanites, who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua and received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt. In later years, they formed themselves kingdoms. These kingdoms are called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. So, in 1927, our prophet published in the Koran that later years they would form themselves kingdoms that are called to this day Morocco. So the kingdom of Morocco, which was incorporated in 1956. So our prophet told us roughly 20 years before they did it that they were going to do it. Then they did it. In addition to that, in 1948, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was passed. And in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it states, Article 15, that everyone has a right to a nationality. So nationality is a basic human right that all humans are entitled to. So if the United Nations have come out and declared this, and if our prophet said it and published it in 1927, and they said it in 1928, is that not another prophecy being fulfilled? These are just clear examples. I can go on for days in doing this to showing you why our prophet is a prophet. And prophets, they prophesize. They say, hey, this is going to happen in the future. And then it happens. Then you're like, hey, you may want to pay attention to the prophet because you can get some insight about what is to come. More importantly, how to function through what is to come. Because there's still a lot that's unknown about what, when, where, why, and how things are going to unfold. But at least we got some divine instructions to help us along the way. So praise Allah for each and every one of you for tuning in to this National Koran Study class. As we prepare to close out the meeting, pardon me on time, I'm going to go slightly over. We must open and close promptly. So we started at 7, we should end at 9. I started about 7:10 today, so I'm gonna go a little bit over in time, but I thank you all. I hope that today's class was informative and helpful to you. And just let me read these final proclamations to be read at each meeting before we officially close out this meeting tonight. Excuse me. To be proclaimed at every meeting, Islam. I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors amongst you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens. They are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay the divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy, because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world would not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is the instructions from your prophet Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on. But the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone, and many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace. Your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam. So with that, this essentially concludes our Koran study class, our National Koran Study class. Our first one was a grand success. I appreciate all the participants, wherever you may be calling in from. Before we hang up and disconnect the line, are there any questions from anybody? The floor is open for any questions that you may have. Gonna wait a few minutes. I know sometimes the brain got to process and contemplate. So I'll give you a few moments. Islam, Ashley, Islam.
Islam, I wanted to know if we could one day go into chapter 16 of the in the Holy Koran. I want to understand this chapter better.
Islam. Yes, we certainly will. Absolutely. We will definitely go into chapter 16. We'll get to it in this class, because part of the intent of this class is we're going through the Quran starting at chapter 48, and we're going backwards. So next week we'll be in 47, and so on and so forth, just to follow in that order. For the purpose of this class, now I would encourage you to get with your branch temple, which we're part of your branch temple too. So yeah, we'll definitely within our temple meetings, potentially in Sunday school, elaborate on that. However, for the purpose of this class, we're going to just follow in not sequential order, but backwards through time, so we can trace ourselves, and we'll get to chapter 16 very soon, obviously. But yes, to answer that question, absolutely, sis, we will. And I think if the Grand Sheik Reginald Timzell is still online, he'll take note of that we got a member requesting clear more details around chapter 16. So we're going to definitely get there. Islam. What other questions, though, if any, anybody may have? So y'all good? All right, Morris. Well, with that, again, please get back to your sheik, your grand sheik, your governing head, whoever was the person that invited you to this call. Please pay your dues in your branch temple. Okay, take finance. All right. If you would like to support what we're doing here, I'm sure next week we'll have our treasurer on the line. She'll share our link, our Cash App. I don't know if she is up there. She can share it for this branch temple. But again, we want to emphasize that everybody support your branch temple, your local temple. Whoever your grand sheik governing head is, support the work they're doing in the community, not just with finance, with your money, with your presence, your energy, and most importantly, your goodwill. So with that, I say peace. I love you all. Thank you for your time this evening. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your creation. Islam.
Islam, Morris.
Islam. Oh, yeah. And this call is recorded.
Peace and love.
Islam, the Courtney Elmo Davis.
It was a beautiful, beautiful Quran class. I really enjoyed it. It's Brother Kinnick.
Praise Allah. Is that my sister out of Wisconsin?
It most certainly is, no doubt.
Thought so. Well, we got a lot of states up here. Islam. Islam.
Morris, I'm gonna go
Peace and
ahead
love,
and
next Wednesday, we'll be here.
Islam, peace and love.
Islam, peace and love, sis.
Islam, peace and love, y'all.
Peace and love, Sister Shanette.
Islam, peace and love.